One Gospel, version 3, part 13. Jesus' final days in Jerusalem. Taken from the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Jesus criticizes the Pharisees and Torah teachers. And then in the hearing of all the people, Jesus spoke to the multitudes and to his disciples by his teaching, saying to them, "The Torah teachers and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Therefore, whatever they tell you to observe, observe and do, but do not do according to their works. For they say and do not do. For they bind heavy and hard to bear burdens, and lay them on men's shoulders, and they will not move them with one of their fingers. They do all their works to be seen by men. Beware the Torah teachers who desire to walk in long robes. They make their phylacteries broad and enlarge the fringes of their garments. And they love the chief seats at evening meals, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and love greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called by men, Rabbi, Rabbi. And you, do not be called Rabbi, for one is your Rabbi, the Messiah, and all of you are brothers. And do not call anyone upon the earth your father, for one is your Father, who is in the heavens. Neither be called teachers, for one is your teacher, the Messiah. He who is greatest among you will be your servant, and whoever will exalt himself shall be humbled, and he who will humble himself will be exalted. And woe to you, Torah teachers and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut up the kingdom of the heavens before men. For you do not go in, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. Woe to you, Torah teachers and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. Therefore you will receive the greater condemnation. Woe to you, Torah teachers and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you travel sea and dry land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twice as much a son of Gehenna as yourselves. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever will swear by the temple, it is nothing, and whoever will swear by the gold of the temple is a debtor. Blind fools, for which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whoever will swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whoever swears by the gift that is upon it is a debtor. Blind fools, for which is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Therefore he who will swear by the altar swears by it, and by all things on it. And he who will swear by the temple swears by it, and by him who dwells in it. And he who will swear by the heaven swears by the throne of God, and by him that sits on it. Woe to you, Torah teachers and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you give a tithe of mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the Torah, justice, mercy, and faith. These you should have done, and not neglect the other. Blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, Torah teachers and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you cleanse the outside of the cup and of the plate, but within they are full of extortion, and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first cleanse the inside of the cup and the plate, so that the outside of them may also become clean. Woe to you, Torah teachers and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but within are full of dead men's bones, and of all uncleanness. In this manner you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and Torah breaking. Woe to you, Torah teachers and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets, and adorn the tombs of the righteous, and say, if we had been there in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partners with them in the bloodshed of the prophets. Therefore you bear witness to yourselves, that you are the sons of those who murdered the prophets, and you fill up the measure of your fathers. Serpents, brood of vipers, how can you escape the condemnation of Gehenna? Therefore look, I send to you prophets, and wise men, and Torah teachers. And some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues, and persecute from city to city, so that on you may come all the righteous blood poured on the earth, from the blood of Abel the righteous to the blood of Zechariah son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple sanctuary and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these things shall come on this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those sent to you, how often I wanted to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under the wings, and you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. For I say to you, you will not see me from now on until you will say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Jesus prophesies on the Mount of Olives. Jesus sat opposite the treasury and saw how the multitude cast brass money into the treasury. He looked up and saw many who were rich men, casting their large gifts into the treasury. And he also saw a certain poor widow come, and she cast in 2 small brass coins there, which are a quadrans. And he called his disciples to him and said to them, Truly I say to you, that this poor widow has cast in more than all those who have cast into the treasury. For all these cast into the offerings of God out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, cast in all that she had, all her livelihood. And Jesus went out of the temple and departed. And his disciples came to show him the buildings of the temple, as some spoke concerning it, that it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts. One of his disciples said to him, Rabbi, look, what manner of stones and what manner of buildings. Jesus said to them, Do you not see all these great buildings? Truly I say to you, the days will come here that not one stone will be left on another stone, which will not be thrown down. As he sat on the Mount of the Olives opposite the temple, the disciples Peter, James, John, and Andrew came to him. They asked him privately, Rabbi, tell us then, when will these things be? And what will be the sign when all these things are about to happen and will be fulfilled? And of your coming, and of the end of the age? Jesus answered and began to say to them, Take heed that no one deceive you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and the time is near, and shall deceive many. Therefore do not go after them. And when you hear of wars and commotions and rumors of wars, see that you are not troubled. For all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not coming immediately yet. Then he said to them, For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes in various places, and there will be famines, pestilences, troubles, fearful things, and great signs from heaven. And all these are the beginning of sorrows. And take heed to yourselves, for before all these things they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to Sanhedrin councils, the synagogues and prisons. You will be beaten, and you will be brought before rulers and kings for my name's sake, but will turn out for you as a testimony to them. And the gospel must first be proclaimed among all the nations. And when they will lead you and deliver you up, therefore settle in your hearts. Do not be anxious beforehand, nor premeditate your defense, what you will speak. But whatever will be given to you in that hour, speak that. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries will not be able to refute or resist. For it is not you who speaks, but the Holy Spirit. And brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child, and children will rise up against parents and will put them to death. And you will be delivered up even by parents and brothers and kindred and friends. Then they will deliver you to tribulation, and some of you will be put to death. And you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will be made to stumble, and will deliver up one another, and will hate one another. Many false prophets will arise, and will deceive many. And because Torah breaking will abound, the love of many will become cold. But not a hair of your head shall be destroyed. By your endurance possess your souls. He who will endure to the end, he will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed in all the world for a testimony to all the nations. And then the end shall come. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by a military encampment, then know that her desolation is near. And therefore, when you see the abomination of the desolation, spoken by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place where it should not, whoever is reading, let him understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let those who are in her midst depart out. And do not let those who are in the country enter into her. And let him who is on the housetop not go down into the house, nor go in to take anything out of his house. And let him who is in the field not turn back to take his garments. For these are days of vengeance, to fulfill all things that have been written. Woe to those who are pregnant, and to those who are nursing in those days. Pray that your flight may not be in winter, nor on a Sabbath. For then in those days there will be a great tribulation, such as not been from the beginning of the creation of the world which God created, until this time. No, nor ever will be. And if the Lord had not shortened those days, no flesh would be saved. For there will be great distress on the land, and wrath on this people. And they will fall by the edge of the sword, and will be led away captive into all the nations. But because of the chosen, whom he chose for himself, he has shortened those days. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down by nations, until the times of nations are fulfilled. Then if anyone will say to you, Look, here is the Messiah, or here, or look there, do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will arise, and they will give great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even the chosen. And take heed, look, I have foretold you all things. Therefore, if they will say to you, Look, he is in the wilderness, do not go forth, or behold, in the inner chambers, do not believe. For as the lightning comes forth from the east and flashes to the west, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For wherever the carcass is, there the eagles will be gathered together. But immediately after that tribulation of those days, there will be signs in the sun and moon and stars. The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give her light, and the stars of the heaven will fall from the heaven. When the earth distress of nations with perplexity from the sea and the waves roaring, men fainting from fear in the expectation of the things coming on the world, and the powers that are in the heavens will be shaken. And then the sign of the Son of Man shall appear in the heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will beat their chest. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of the heaven with great power and glory. And then he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his chosen from the four winds, from the ends of the heavens to the other ends of the earth. And when these things begin to happen, then get up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. He spoke to them a parable. Learn the parable from the fig tree. Look at the fig tree and all the leaves. When its branch has already become tender, and puts forth leaves, you see and know for yourselves that summer is now near. And so you also, when you see all of those things happening, know that the kingdom of God is near, at the doors. Truly I say to you, that this generation will certainly not pass until all these things happen. The heaven and the earth will pass away, but my words will certainly not pass away. And concerning that day and the hour, no one knows, not even the angels who are in the heavens, not even the Son, but only my Father. But take heed to yourselves, so that at any time your hearts are not weighed down with hangovers and intoxication and anxieties of life, and that day comes upon you unexpectedly. For it will come like a snare on all those who dwell on the face of the whole earth. Therefore watch and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that are about to come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. And just as the days of Noah, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For just as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then 2 men will be in the field, the one will be taken and the one left. 2 women will be grinding in the mill, the one will be taken and the one left. Therefore watch, because you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. And know this, that if the master of the house had known in what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore you also become ready, because the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not suppose. Take heed, watch and pray, for you do not know when the time is, like a man going abroad who left his house and gave authority to his servants, and to each one his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to watch. Therefore watch, for you do not know when the Lord of the house is coming, in the evening or at midnight, or at the crowing of the rooster or in the morning, so that coming suddenly he does not find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to all, watch. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord has set over his household, to give them food in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he comes, will find him doing so. Truly I say to you, that he will set him over all his goods. And if that evil servant will say in his heart, my Lord delays his coming, and will begin to beat the fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunkards, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he is not expecting, and in an hour that he does not know. And he will cut him in two, and appoint his portion with the hypocrites. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the kingdom of the heavens will be compared to 10 virgins, who took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise and 5 foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. And the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. When the bridegroom delayed, they all nodded and slept. At midnight a cry was made, look, the bridegroom is coming, go forth to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us from your oil, because our lamps are going out. The wise answered, so that there is enough for us and you, go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves. But while they went away to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. Afterward the remaining virgins came, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. He answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. Therefore watch, and for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. For the kingdom is like a man going into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered to them his goods. To one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went into a far country. And he who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them, and made another 5 talents. Likewise he who had the 2, he also gained another 2. And he who had received the 1 went away and dug in the earth, and hid his Lord's money. And after a long time the Lord of those servants came, and settled accounts with them. He who had received the 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered 5 talents to me. Look, I have gained another 5 talents beside them. His Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will set you over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. He who also had received the 2 talents came and said, Lord, you delivered 2 talents to me. Look, I have gained another 2 talents beside them. His Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will set you over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. And he who also had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew that you are a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the earth. Look, you have what is yours. His Lord said to him, Wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. Therefore you should have put my silver money with the bankers, and at my coming I could have received back my own with interest. Therefore take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. And from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. And cast the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, when the Son of Man will come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him. Then he will sit upon the throne of his glory, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in, naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you as a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? And the king will answer and say to them, Truly I say to you, as much as you have done to one of the least of these my brothers, you have done it to me. Then he will also say to those on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not look after me. Then they will also answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not serve you? Then he will answer them, saying, Truly I say to you, inasmuch as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, and the righteous into everlasting life. In the daytime he was teaching in the temple, but at night he went out and lodged at the mount called of Olives. And all the people came early in the morning to him in the temple to hear him. Jesus' arrest is planned while Jesus is anointed again 2 days before Passover. It came to pass when Jesus had finished all these words, the feast of the unleavened bread, which is called the Passover, were coming after 2 days. He said to his disciples, "You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming, and the Son of Man will be delivered to be crucified." And then the chief priests and the Torah teachers and the elders of the people assembled together to the courtyard of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted together, seeking how they might take Jesus by deceit and kill him, for they feared the people. They said, "Not in the feast, so that there won't be an uproar of the people." And Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper. As he reclined at the table, a woman came to him having an alabaster box of very costly spikenard fragrant oil. And she broke the alabaster box and poured it on his head. And when his disciples saw it, there were some that were greatly displeased among themselves and said, "Why has this waste of fragrant oil happened? For it might have been sold for more than 300 denarii and given to the poor." And they murmured against her. And when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, "Leave her alone. Why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you always have the poor with you, and whenever you wish you may do them good. But you do not always have me. She has done what she could. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she has come beforehand to anoint my body for my burial preparation. Truly I say to you, wherever this gospel will be proclaimed in the whole world, what this one has done will also be told as a memorial to her." And then Satan entered into the one called Judah, surnamed Iscariot, one of the number of the 12. And he went away to speak with the chief priests and captains of the temple guard, how he might deliver him to them. And when they heard it, they rejoiced and promised to give him silver. He said, "What are you willing to give me if I deliver him to you?" And they weighed out 30 pieces of silver. And he agreed. And from that time on he sought an opportunity how he might conveniently deliver him up to them apart from the multitude.